every week. Now be quiet there, Mother Box. Okay. Once again, deep in the historic downtown portion of St. John's, Newfoundland, in the downtown core, coming from an undisclosed location. That top secret show that you love to watch in the Library of Graphic Literature with me, Wallace Ryan, your host. Of course, it's another hot day here, so what am I doing? Hang on a sec. Spin of the rack and a sip of tea. I left my tea over here. Hang on a sec. I don't know what I was thinking. Beautiful. So it's another hot week here, out here on the East Coast, and but you'll notice, for one thing, that I'm coming to you on a Wednesday night, and you're saying to yourself, Wallace, why are you here on a Wednesday night when usually you're here on a Thursday night? Because you keep on telling us about how the comics always end up coming to your place by Thursdays, coming to your island by Thursdays. Well, once every so often, at least once or twice a year, we get our comics on a Wednesday. Once or twice in the whole year. And this happened to be one of them. So it was cool. I got a call from our courier dude and ran down, and there they were for us. So, therefore, here I am for you. Anyway, another sip of tea. It's still brutally hot here today. But that is not going to stop me from my mission. And my mission, of course, is to show you some of the coolest books, collecting comics and or comic strips. And let's set to that right now. Oh, another spin of the rack though. Ooh, love that sound. Some cool stuff on that rack too. Well, let's get right down to it, shall we? Okay, we'll start out with, from PS Artbooks comes Weird Horrors. This is, let me take it out of its slipcase. This is from the comic series that was early 50s, I do believe. Yeah, 53. Issue 6 to 9 and bonus issue, Do You Believe in Nightmares? So some great talent in this one, from Joe Kubert to Steve Ditko and Dick Ayers. So once again, like I say, keep telling people how I actually kind of like the PS Artbooks, because they haven't been like overly remastered and overly recolored. They've really, well, it appears that they scan the actual comics themselves, touch them up a bit, and give them to us as close as they are in their original format. I kind of like that for some reason. So anyway, pre-code classics here. This is volume 2 of Weird Horror. Hurrah! Hurrah! But yeah, I like these because, I mean, there's, as I've said before, I like the ads in these. I like looking at them, but I like looking at some of the earlier work too that's contained in these by some future stars like Steve Ditko and so on. Oh, there you go. Nightmare. And oh, there we are. We're into the Ditko stuff there already. It's funny, you can tell that Ditko comic a mile away. So yeah, that one's pretty cool. Oh, I actually got 2 this week from PS Artbooks. The other one is Dark Mysteries. Very dark, very mysterious. Same thing again too. I love these. This is from the 53 and 54. With Hy Fleischman, A.C. Hollingsworth, Gerald Altman, and many more. Once again, just love the look and the feel of these. it almost looks, it has the appearance of like they've just bound together a bunch of comics into a hardcover, which of course I know isn't true, but it's kind of neat to sort of see that. But so this is volume 3 of Dark Mysteries. So yeah, if you like sort of old 50s style horror comics and stuff like that, I recommend you check out some of these great books from PS Artbooks. Pretty cool, eh? Here's a close-up. Let's get a close-up here. Yeah, oh, here's one of those cool ads. Borrow money by mail. Yeah, right. And gain more weight in 10 days or your money back. I'm trying to lose weight in 10 days. Oh, there. Here's one of those how to make yourself more muscular type of ads. I guess there must have been a lot of scrawny people around in the 50s being beaten up by guys on the beach kicking sand into their faces. Anyway, another great little offering there from those fine folks at PS Artbooks. Keep them coming. Whew! Staggeringly hot here. Now from another entry into the Disney Masters collection. This Mickey Mouse, The Case of the Vanishing Bandit by Paul Murray. I'm collecting all the Disney Masters myself. My fellow Disney fan and duck lover Sam, I think this is the one he didn't order in. I can't remember if it was last week's. Anyway, he's sort of picking and choosing his favorite type of stuff. Myself, I'm just getting them all just because, well, I'm a librarian. I'm a graphic librarian, so I want as wide a range as I can of material. So these are great stories. I like these because, I mean, well, number one, most of these I've never seen before, so I mean it's a lot of all new reading. And where they're the European stories, there's a slight difference in these compared to their American cousins, I find. These are a little bit more wacky at times, a little bit wilder in their stories, stuff like that. But still, you know, still kind of cool if you're, like I say, if you're a Disney fan. Check out the Disney Masters. Like I say, a lot of these will be by artists and all, and will contain material that you've probably never seen before, so give it a shot. Oh, I'm dying here. I'm dying. Oh, and here comes one that I've been looking forward to for a while. And this is our first unwrapping of this week. It is War Against Crime. And there's volume 1, so I'm assuming there's going to be a volume 2. And of course, all you fans of the show out there know that I'm a big fan of the EC comic line. I'm trying to collect all the EC archives. Come hell or high water, I will have them all. But I love them. I love reading. I love the old-fashioned lurid style comics from the 60s, not the 60s, the 50s, and that. There's just something about them. True crime too. I'm a big true crime nut too, by the way. So you know, besides the fact that it's an EC comic, it's also a true crime comic. So it's a double winner, you might say, there for me. Let's get rid of that dust jacket here. And I'm trying to remember who the artists are in here, but let's not wonder. Let's have a quick look. Feldstein, Lee Ames, Johnny Craig, Stan Ash, Johnny Craig, Graham Ingalls, Frank Boll, and Leonard Starr. Ooh, Lee Ames, Johnny Craig. I'm a bit of a Johnny Craig fan, so I'm kind of glad to see that there's a few of his here. Al Fenelstein, Sheldon Moldoff. Oh, okay. Joe Orlando. Oh, no, some of the later issues. Okay. But yeah, like I say, I love anything true crime. I'm a big fan of. I love that Crime Does Not Pay, that Dark Horse was also putting out, but it seems to have stopped, which is a bit of a drag. I really loved that series. So anyway, check out this War Against Crime for all you crime noir fans, and anyone who's actually a fan of Brubaker and all them. You should get into true crime. Love a bit of true crime. It flips through fast so you don't get to see too much, or I don't spoil anything. Like I say, well worth the purchase price. Fabuloso. So yeah, get out there, ladies and gentlemen, and pick yourself up and join the war against crime. So this will go right onto my reading stack. The EC books I tend to try to read right away, and so books that I've already read that I get that I buy, I'll put them actually right on my shelf these days, because there's a lot of stuff that I'm buying that I haven't read, so you know I am falling behind slightly, but like I say, if I was to try to read everything I buy, I would never do it. And I'm hoping to actually read the entire library before I pass on to the great beyond. So let's hope. Meanwhile, here I am, tearing open yet another book, and this is another thing from fine folks at Dark Horse Comics. Ooh. Oh, I gotta keep myself keep wiping the sweat from my face so I don't get any sweat onto my beautiful books here. So, as we all know, Dark Horse had suspended their printing of the Eerie and Creepy archives, but I guess so many people like myself and others got so upset, especially because they were only like three or four volumes left to go in each of them, and I think that's what sort of irritated people the most. But let's give them credit. Dark Horse stood up and they started printing them again, and there's only a few left anyway. Oh, hang on a second. Of course, that's a fire truck going by my house here. I live right next to a fairly busy street here, actually, so that's why sometimes you will hear stuff. Anyway, Eerie, volume 24. The artists: E.R. Cruz, Enrique, Bob Larkin, Rudy Nebrez, and Julian, and Yandok. So a few cool people. But yeah, Eerie and Creepy kind of like, well, reminds me in a lot of ways of EC Comics in a weird sort of way, but I always loved their sort of trick ending, stuff like that. And also too, during the 60s and 70s, you know, we had the Comics Code in force and all that, so mainstream comics, I mean, even though I like the Marvel and all that, compared to something like, say, heavy metal and other things that came later, they were kind of tame. And the only place that you could step outside this tameness was by going to the Warren magazines. And the art in the Warren magazines, of course, is absolutely stunning. Not only that, there's a great variety. I like the fact that you're reading through a book that's been done by a lot of different people. So you get a lot of different styles here and there. Absolutely fabulous. So I don't know how many of you out there are collecting the Warren archives, but I highly, highly recommend you give it a shot. Absolutely stunning artwork. And like I say, they had such a wide range of artists, from your standard North American comic book artists, and then they started to get into getting a lot of more foreign talent coming into the publication. I think probably to save money at the time too, because it was cheaper for them to get the artwork done outside of America. And but still, I mean, it's because of that policy, which DC and others were at too, that we got to see such great artists like Alex Nino, the Redondos, Ernie Chua, Gonzalez, Esteban Morato, all kinds of great artists who I mean, even at the time when I was a kid and seeing them coming out, I had no idea, you know, that these people weren't. To my teenage mind, these people were Americans, was what I thought. I never knew that they were basically hiring and getting people, basically, you know, they were farming out the work to basically, what is it they call it? Outsourcing. They were outsourcing. See, comics are always ahead of their times. So they were outsourcing, but they got some great people doing comics. So, you know, I didn't matter really, because I mean, especially Alex Nino and some of these people, they really affected the way I seen comics and that. So in the end, it was well worth it, I think. Now, last but definitely not least, especially for you Marvel Masterworks fans out there, this is volume 12 of The Incredible Hulk. Woo! How incredible is The Incredible Hulk? Very. Now, this is one of these books, like I was just talking about it in terms of comics that I've already read. Not only do I know I've read all of these, but this starts because most of my early life I was less of a DC fan, but in my teens I started to experiment and try some Marvel titles and all that, and this book contains the first Hulk comic that I bought. You know, because I'd seen Hulk, you know, before and all that, and I knew who he was, but you know, I'd never really read a Hulk comic. So I can remember looking at the stands one time, and there looked to be a really cool Hulk comic there, and I thought, oh, I think I'll buy that. And the main reason I bought it, funny enough, was because the cover was actually done by one of my all-time favorites, Bernie Wrightson. And this was the Wrightson cover here. Really cool, and it showed, of course, the Hulk taking on Man-Thing, and of course, being a swamp creature fan myself, when I seen that, I said, "You've got to check this out." Let's take off this dust jacket. And I bought it, I read it, and I thought, wow, this is kind of cool. And so I bought the next one, and then the next one, and kept on going. Of course, these were written by Len Wein, so funny, ironically enough, talking about swamp creatures. I loved everything in these books. Now, there's also the other thing about this too, besides the writing by good old Len Wein, is there's some really cool, great pencil work by Sal Buscema and all that. But the other great thing about this is the inking. The inking in this is done by Joe Staton, who, in my mind, was one of the great inkers of Mr. Buscema, and so these, and I absolutely love their work together. I also love their work on the Avengers around the same time. So that was another thing I think that attracted me, the fact that it was Sal Buscema and Staton together. And there's just something about I mean, you know, Sal's in some ways he's sort of a very simple artist and all that, very dynamic in his own way, and I am a fan of his too, by the way. there's something about there was something about Stanton, the way he inked them. It just really just brought something out in Sal that only other people. Oh, Klaus Janson to some extent he would do it too, and there's a few others like that who could really make Sal sparkle. But for me, it was good old Joe Stanton that really made his art jump. Because of course his storytelling is top notch. But check this out. So I read all of these as a kid, and like I say, I loved them. There was just something really cool. Oh, Jarrella. There's just something very cool about it. Oh, and then here's the one comic in here by good old Herb Trimp. And then it's back to Sal, then Ween, Glennis Ween. But yeah, overall, great Hulk work. So for you Hulk fans out there, bye. For you Sal Buscema fans out there, double bye. Love this book. Check it out. Whew. God, I'm sweating. I'm already sweating here. I've been trying to be careful not to let the sweat drip onto the books, because I'm one of these people that it would just drive me crazy if I got through reading most of that book, for instance, or showing it to you folks, and a little bit of sweat dropped off me and hit that little wet spot. It would just drive me around the bend. So thankfully I got through most of those without sweating all over my books. Whew. So, a sip of the tea, a spin of the rack, a kiss to the face, and a pat on the back. Thank you very much once again for joining me here to reminisce and peruse some of the coolest books out there in the world of graphic literature. And don't forget, drop back next week and see what I'll have for you then. In the meantime, thank you all very much, and keep on reading. Meanwhile, no, I want a boom tube. Yes, a boom tube. Meanwhile, I shall take the next boom tube out of here. Love you all. And yes, I don't know if any of you have noticed, I am beardless. I repeat, beardless. Okay. See you folks next week. Love you. Bye. Whoa!